Picture this. A British king standing before the United States Congress on the 250th anniversary of America telling Britain to take a hike, and somehow, some way, he gets a standing ovation. That actually happened, but here's what didn't happen. No FaceTime with the grandkids, no quiet family dinner, no awkward hug with his youngest son. Because, according to multiple reports, King Charles and Queen Camilla just completed a US state visit that was a diplomatic masterclass, and Prince Harry, he was apparently 3,000 miles away in California, doing something else entirely. But before we get into why those 3,000 miles might as well have been a million, let me ask you something. Have you ever been so convinced you're still part of a group that you show up uninvited and lecture everyone? Yeah, stick with me, because what happened last week is a textbook example of that energy. According to royal commentators and sources close to the situation, the contrast between Charles's American triumph and Harry's ongoing antics couldn't be starker. Let me give you the first mini payoff of this video. The king addressed Congress. That's not something they hand out to every visiting dignitary. According to diplomatic historians, it's a privilege reserved for heads of state who've earned genuine respect, and Charles reportedly knocked it out of the park. But here's the new curiosity gap that should keep you watching. If Charles is winning America over so easily, why is his own son seemingly doing everything possible to embarrass him at the exact same time? Because, according to the timeline, Harry chose the week of his father's major US trip to parachute into Ukraine and lecture Vladimir Putin about ending the war. I'm not making this up, and I'm pretty sure Putin is still waiting for his apology. Let me pause and give you another satisfying insight. According to Lady Colin Campbell, a well-known royal biographer and commentator, the reason Charles and Camilla didn't meet Harry and Meghan during this trip isn't just because of distance. California is roughly 3,000 miles from Washington and New York, sure, but there are private planes, there are phones, there are ways to see your grandchildren if you really want to. The real reason, according to sources, is that the King and Queen reportedly did not want Harry and Meghan anywhere near them, because, as one commentator put it, it would have become the Meghan and Harry dog and pony show. Ouch, but also, let's be honest, probably accurate. Now, here's where the story gets even more interesting. Remember when Harry and Meghan first came to America and decided to visit a cemetery on Remembrance Day? According to multiple observers, they reportedly walked on hallowed ground in high heels, called the paparazzi, and turned a solemn moment into a photo op. Fast forward to this trip, and Charles and Camilla visited both Ground Zero and Arlington National Cemetery. No paparazzi calls, no dramatic poses, just quiet, dignified respect. That's the difference, and it's not subtle. But hold on, because here's a moment from the transcript that genuinely made me laugh out loud. Harry was asked in an interview whether he considers himself not a working royal. His response, according to the recording, he said, "No, I will always be part of the royal family, and I'm here working and doing the very thing I was born to do." Let me translate that for you. He left the royal family, moved to another continent, wrote a book criticizing almost everyone in it, and now says he's still doing the job he was born to do. That's not confidence, that's something else entirely. And according to Lady C, this is exactly the problem. Harry and Meghan apparently believe they can just ignore the rules, ignore the Lord Chamberlain's guidelines, and do whatever they please because, well, because they're them. Here's my honest human opinion. I actually respect the confidence, but confidence without self-awareness is just delusion wearing a fancy suit. Let me give you another dopamine hit of clarity. According to legal analysts who follow royal protocol, the Lord Chamberlain's guidelines currently don't have real legal consequences. They're more like strongly worded suggestions, and Harry and Meghan, according to sources, have been completely ignoring them, commercializing their brand, using their titles, doing faux royal tours without permission. The problem? The royal family has never dealt with a couple this disorderly, as Lady C put it. But here's the curiosity gap that could change everything. According to the same analysts, those guidelines could be beefed up, they could be given the force of law, and if that happens, there could be consequences, like preventing Harry and Meghan from using their titles, not stripping them, but legally blocking their use. Imagine the headlines. But would that actually stop them? Probably not, which brings me to the next part of this story that is both fascinating and slightly ridiculous. According to recent reports that have not been officially confirmed, Meghan Markle was apparently convinced that her invitation to the Met Gala was coming any minute. The Met Gala, which is arguably the biggest fashion event of the year, and according to the transcript, the person running this year's Met Gala is Lauren Sanchez Bezos, who apparently had Harry and Meghan at a private party just months ago. So surely the invitation was in the mail, right? Except according to sources, it never came, and it probably not coming. Now, look, I'm not a fashion expert. I own 3 pairs of the same sneakers, but even I know when Dior gives Harry a suit to wear and then reportedly says no thank you to Meghan, that's a signal. That's a big, flashing neon signal. Here's my sarcastic but friendly observation. You can't call the royal family racist, write a book complaining about everything, and then expect to be invited to the fanciest party in New York. That's not how social capital works. That's not how any of this works.
But wait, there's more. According to the same discussion, Omid Scobie, the author who wrote a very friendly book about Harry and Meghan, has apparently been marled. That's a term from the transcript meaning he's been dropped, cut off, left behind. According to sources close to the situation, after his recent projects failed to gain traction, he's reportedly become persona non grata in Montecito. And here's the pattern that I find genuinely fascinating. Jessica, marled. Omid, marled. According to Lady C, everyone eventually gets marled, and the ultimate person who might get marled, according to speculation, it could eventually be Harry himself. Not officially confirmed, of course, but the logic is there, because according to royal observers, the only possible way back for Harry, if there ever is one, would reportedly be without Meghan, under a future King William perhaps, but not with her. And honestly, I don't think that's surprising to anyone who's been paying attention. Let me give you another satisfying insight and then a bigger hook. According to Lady C, the royal family is actually much more sophisticated in psychological terms than most people realize, and I wasn't expecting this part, so let me share it with you. Prince Philip's aunt, Princess Marie Bonaparte, was one of 2 female psychoanalysts trained by Sigmund Freud himself. The late Queen reportedly had psychiatric treatment. King Charles has had psychiatric treatment. Princess Margaret did too. They've been on the cutting edge of psychology for generations. Now here's why that matters. According to psychological experts who've observed Meghan's behavior, there are reportedly patterns that professionals recognize as deeply challenging. And the royal family, with their psychological sophistication, apparently understands something important. With certain personality traits, there is no cure, there is no solution. The only thing you can do is block access, because any opening will allow chaos to come back wave after wave. That's a quote from the transcript, and whether you agree or not, it explains a lot about why Charles reportedly didn't want Harry and Meghan within 1,000 miles of his US trip. Now, let me address the elephant in the room. Some of you might be thinking, isn't this just gossip? And fair question. According to media ethics guidelines, responsible commentary separates fact from opinion. So here are the confirmed facts. King Charles did visit the US for the 250th anniversary. He did address Congress. He did visit the 9/11 Memorial and Arlington Cemetery. Harry did appear in Ukraine. Harry did say he will always be part of the royal family. family. Those are facts. The interpretations, whether Charles's trip was a triumph, whether Harry's actions were inappropriate, those are opinions based on evidence. And my opinion, for what it's worth, is that Charles handled this trip with exactly the kind of quiet professionalism that makes the loudest statement of all. He didn't need to attack anyone. He didn't need to complain. He just showed up, did the job, and let the contrast speak for itself. That's not just good diplomacy, that's good strategy. But here's where I want to add a slightly different perspective. According to some critics, the royal family isn't blameless here either. They reportedly could have handled the initial exit negotiations better. They could have offered more support. And while Meghan's behavior might be challenging, according to some mental health advocates, labeling someone as uncontrollable or toxic without a formal diagnosis isn't exactly fair. So let me be clear, I'm not here to demonize anyone. What I am here to do is point out the fascinating, almost Shakespearean drama of a family that happens to be one of the most famous institutions in the world, and two members who decided to leave but keep the spotlight anyway. That tension between wanting freedom and wanting relevance is the engine of this entire story. And according to recent announcements, Harry and Meghan are reportedly planning a faux royal tour of Africa next. Meanwhile, Prince William and Catherine are reportedly planning their own trip to Australia as a response. It's like watching two chefs compete to make the same dish, except one chef keeps setting off the fire alarm. Let me wrap this up with a final mini payoff and a thought. According to the transcript, the most telling moment came when the commentator said, "Buckingham Palace represents Britain, Harry represents Harry." And I think that's the whole story in one sentence. One side is about service, duty, and something larger than any single person. The other side is about personal grievances, personal branding, and personal attention. Neither is inherently evil, but one of these approaches actually works when you're trying to influence world events, and the other approach gets you left off the Met Gala guest list while your father speaks to Congress. You don't need to be a royal expert to understand that math. So here's my final thought, and I mean this sincerely. I hope Harry finds peace, I hope Meghan finds happiness, but I also hope they realize that the world's attention span for family drama has an expiration date, and according to everything we've seen this week, that date might be approaching faster than anyone in Montecito wants to admit.